Welcome or welcome back to my channel. Today I am scraplifting Gill Birch, who's at Gill Birch, gill.birch.7 on Instagram for May I Scraplift You. And I'm doing this picture of my husband and my two daughters when my daughters were meeting each other a few hours after my youngest was born. So this is almost 14 years ago, which is crazy. And then I pulled out this Studio Calico 6x8 piece of paper. I pulled out this one that says Precious One on the top here. It is super old, like 18 years old. And so I'm trying to think of what I want to do. So I see that sweet baby girl on there and I'm like, that would actually work pretty good. So I'm just trying to make sure, where is this? And I was trying to cut it without worrying about cutting the branding strip. And then I was like, oh, that's just making it a whole lot more difficult. Let's not do that. So, and so I'm eyeballing where I kind of want that paper to be. And so that's how that one goes. And then I'm looking at this dark pink because I didn't realize it was the dark pink in behind, and I like the dark pink. And I was debating on, do I cut it? Do I not? Because I really like that Precious One for the writing. I'm going to cut it anyway, but that's okay. Decided no to the blue and yes to this. So I am going to cut a bit of it off. And that's almost that whole piece of paper. There's only a couple of tiny little scraps left. And so yay, some really old stash out of my stash and on a page. I also pulled out these 3x4, this 3x4 card. I pulled out this piece of vellum that has cute little baby footprints on, and that other 3x4 Studio Calico card, because she does have a 3x4 card on hers beside her photo, and I'm just going to make mine. Then she's got some diamonds going across the two papers on the right side. I'm going to put something else there. I had thought about Little Sis Baby Girl in that chipboard. I was thinking about this wee little one, but it was a little big. And then just thinking about, is there anything else of this I'd want? Is there anything of this that I would want? And so I decide I'm going to work on my 3x4 card, and I'm going to cut out the welcome. And I'm going to cut out the cursive baby. So the welcome's going to go in the middle, and then this little baby is going to go and nestle in the bottom. And I just wanted to have the baby off just to make sure that it was going to fit where I wanted it to go. And this is really super old. All my baby scrapbook supplies are really super old. Like, they are all almost 18 years old. I got baby stuff when my oldest was born, and when my youngest was born I still had a lot of baby stuff, so I really didn't get any other baby pages or that kind of stuff. There was a bit there where I didn't do very much scrapbooking too, because two littles at home was really super busy. But now that my one is graduated high school and is almost 18, and my other one will be 14 here pretty quick, I have more time to scrapbook. So it's exciting because I'm getting some baby stuff done amongst everything else that I've been doing. So yay. But when you have littles, it is super hard to do very much for yourself as a mom. So it is what it is. I decided that this needed a little bit of black just to make it stand out on the page and give it some prominence. So I'm literally just gonna line it with just a little bit, and this actually ends up making it a 3x4, even though I did not measure it to be a 3x4, and I just kind of wung it. So it definitely makes it, like you can see my ruler now with the black, it is definitely a 3x4. So that vellum piece is quite a bit smaller, and so I tried to do center and it wasn't quite center, but I can do that on this back piece. And then this is going to get a hole with the vellum, and I'm going to put a brad in it. So that allows me to use the vellum without having to put adhesive that I'm going to see through it, which I really, really dislike, being able to see adhesive on vellum. So if I need to use adhesive on vellum or on acetate or that kind of thing, I tend to hide it underneath like on a layer, so something goes over top of where it's being tacked down. Or I use typically a staple or a brad or something like that to adhere it, so that I'm not worrying about where am I putting my glue. I decided that my photo actually needed to be backed with a frame as well, and so I'm going to do a double matte with white and black. The white ended up being 4 2/8, and the black is 4 1/4, both squared, just to give that little bit of white and black. And then it's similar to that card, but still has its own prominence on the page. And decided that I didn't like the little sis. It was a little oranger than what I was going with everything else on my page. I thought about one of these metal pieces. Spoiler, it's not going to stay on here either, but that's okay. That's from Making Memories. I don't know how long they haven't been around. Are they around still? I don't know. I haven't seen anything from them from a really long time. So yeah, correct me if I'm wrong, but. And then I pulled out this rub-on, which is Once Upon a Time. It also is part of my baby stuff. It came in a fairy tale rub-on set, and I only have this one and the wee little one left. And so I'm gonna put this on this piece of, it's kind of like cardstock texture, a little thicker, but it has that scalloped edge. I think it was packaging of some kind at one point, but I kept it because isn't that so cute? And then that Once Upon a Time takes place of those 3 diamonds, which I'm happy with. And then I'm going to edge it in black too, so that this is going to stand out, but I'm going to do that in ink instead. So just doing a double check on making sure this is the way I want it to go. And yeah, totally want it that way that I had it. I want this overlapping onto the white because Jill's does overlap her photo and across. Mine's not going to go on my photo, it's going to go under my photo, but that's okay. And then obviously inking edges in black just to make this stand up a little bit. She has doodle borders or stitching on her 2 pieces of paper that are in behind, and I didn't want to do that. I have like navy blue in my sewing machine right now, and I didn't want to switch threads and bobbins, and I didn't want to play with that. So I decided the hint of the black around would be good enough. And then I'm going to pull out these rub-ons from 49 and Market, and I have not used any of this yet, so the stitching ones are still in here. And so I am going to use 2 of the stitches. I'm just going to double check and see what else is in here. I'm going to cut 3 out. I'm only going to use 2 of them. And so it gives a nod to the stitching or the doodly border that she has on hers without me doing a massive amount of either or. So I did cut that one in half, and so I'm going to have the tied end hanging out the left side, and where I cut is on the right side, and then I'm going to overlap the other piece that I cut off going up, so it looks like the corner has been stitched on both, like on corner stitched. That's all I need to say, corner stitched. Oh goodness. And then I'm going to do the same thing with the darker, like the mid-tone thread, and on the top. So and I do think about where to put if to put the darker one on here, and I do fuss about it a little bit, but meh. My pattern paper pieces are actually quite a bit bigger than hers too when you look at her layout compared to mine so far, but that's okay. I wanted some of that background on this pink piece to show up, and I did want some of that one where that sweet baby girl is and to be on it as well. So, and then yay, committing to putting it down. So I put a little strip of tape there, but I didn't plan out the once upon a time when I did that. And so when I go to put the once upon a time, it is going to sit way too far over. And so I have to lift that up and move it, and it's good to go. And I still want that overlapping the white a bit, just getting placement. Yay, photo is down. Sometimes there's a lot of faffing about that happens just to get that photo on that page and the plane that occurs. But we're coming up to the home stretch here. So I am going to put this up onto Fun Foam because that brad is there, and I didn't want to poke it through all those layers of paper, and I didn't want it to be like a weird denty thing on that 3x4 card that I made either. So I'm just getting that sorted. I obviously tucked that doily underneath. Double checking with this one more time. You know, it would have been super cute, but I didn't really need it. So it's going to go back in I'm going to put all this away right away because I don't want to lose it. So I was also looking, because I don't have a film strip. I did have a pink film strip. I didn't know where it was. And since then, I've found it, but this is done now, so it doesn't matter. So that's always the case. So I wanted to put this away so I didn't lose any of the bits and pieces, because that definitely can happen when you've got the rub-ons. And then just double checking some of the stuff that I pulled out. So I'm not thinking I probably will use any more of the wordy bits, but I'm looking anyway. I do pull off this circle sticker. It's a scallop circle sticker, and it says, "Little baby, sweet and small, tiny baby." And then I'm just going to cover up the bottom of that, and which is totally fine. And it's not very sticky. It'll stick fine to the doily when I get it on, and I did think about cutting that bottom piece off just a touch, but it doesn't need it. And I don't need to save it. I have lots of baby stuff. I just need to get rid of it. Not all in my style, but I have lots of baby stuff. And then I pulled out this Jen Hadfield. These stickers made it onto yesterday's layout. So they were still front and center on my desk. And so that flower is super, super cute. And then I wanted a little hint of some of this gold because, oh, why not? It ends up being just what it needs. I thought about this little scallop piece. It's not going to make it. And another flower piece, and it's going to go underneath the Once Upon a Time. Gives a little bit of a vertical or a diagonal, but still mostly in that central block for where I'm popping my stuff now. So this is where I deviate a little bit more from Jill's layout. She's got some stuff coming out the bottom. I have that sweet baby girl there, so I don't need stuff to come out the bottom. I'm just adding a little bit of interest in a couple of the spots where it kind of needs just a little bit. So a little bit more gold pieces, some flowers, that kind of thing. I'm going to tuck this one here. I do want a little piece to come up on the white side of the Once Upon a Time, but that piece was just a little too big, but this little piece works well. And then I thought about this house that is gold and white, but I felt like it's going to get lost right there. So there is this gold one up in this corner, and that just ties a little bit more of the gold in, especially at that tiny baby. A few enamel dots because I have them in this perfect pink, and that gets that whole enamel dot sheet used up. And the last thing I'm going to do is ink the edges of the white, and it's not super noticeable, but it is enough. And then here is my layout. Super, super cute. And here are some close-ups. Really appreciate you watching today. Make sure you check Gill out on Instagram. She'll be linked below. Also, make sure you check out Pineapple Papers and the playlist for May I Scraplift You. And thank you so much for watching today. If you haven't subscribed, I'd love to have you here. There's a couple other, a video and a playlist. Thank you so much for watching today. Have yourself a great day.